we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion.
Combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado. This is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
I've been out there. I've been to your guys' place. Saw the awesome bar inside. We came out and did some consulting. Man, I got to get me on a horse. I don't think I'm going to be so good. Talk about repetition is the mother of skill. I think I'm going to be a little rusty.
I mean, we'll put you on the right horse.
Okay.
If you're on the right horse, or if you want to try a little bit of a test, then we'll put you on a different one. You know, depends on what you want to do. We've got a horse for every level.
I'm down. I'll come out there with my Stetson on. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Okay, that does sound like fun because you do one of the horses that's like the easy level horse. You have fun with that.
Move up.
And then you're like, okay, like I built some confidence there. Do you have people that kind of do that in one day? They're like, okay, I got some confidence now. Let me try the next horse.
Yeah, well, you start on the horse that, like, you basically are like, come on, go. I want you to even go faster than what you're doing. And they're just like, I just want to walk. That's all I want to do. Or they just stand there. And you're like, come on, just move. Then you put him on the next one and then get going a little bit. And he's like, we're running to where we're going and we're going home. Get him about halfway out into the pasture. And then it's like, no, I want to go by my buddies. And then it's like, oh, okay. Control you and get you back in, and yeah, it's a fun game.
I'm sure you've seen some comers and goers get on these horses, and some people do extremely well out of the gate, and some folks maybe struggle a little bit.
Yeah, we don't have too many, like, all of our like programs and everything aren't riding programs. They're all ground programs, so we have a few friends that come up. Most of the time it's people that ride, that their horses are in a different place, or they have horses and they're just kind of rode as a kid and grew up on a farm or something like that. So we'll bring friends out and ride with us. We have, I think, like 4 horses out of we have 7 that you can ride total, but 4 of them are rideable because we do rescue the elderly ones. So with the elderly ones, then it's, they get retired, they have arthritis, they have, just old age and they can't hold somebody. Maybe you can put a kid on them and they walk around.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So
yeah, you're not going to put a big boy on there, huh?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We've
hop
got
on one?
Have I been on a horse? Yeah. So,
or would you?
Oh, what? Yeah.
When we go up there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll do a DCPC behind the scenes at the 99 Hearts Ranch. We'll go up and do some riding.
Oh yeah, and we'll have our best videographer on scene, and we're gonna crush it and do a bunch of promo. It'll be so much fun.
I think it'd be a good time.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
Let's set it up.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful out there. I know that's what you were kind of bringing it in with, but there is that just being. There's like that is type of feeling that you get when you are on land, when you work land, and you're like away from society, and you're not hearing cars. And so because I've lived on 5 acres before, and you're kind of just out there. It's like really dark at night.
Yeah.
And I love that you're doing that, and all the people that y'all have helped out there. It's such an awesome project. I mean, everybody that listens to DCPC knows like our involvement and how much we support what you and your family does, and it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. You get out there and you're like, you go into the city and you're like, oh, where'd the stars go? Where'd this go? And then you bring people out and it's just amazing because you get into it and you're like so used to it by seeing it every single day, and it really bringing people out there helps you to really ground yourself back into like, hey, this is amazing. And because anything with anybody, you can get numb to what you have around you, so it's really nice to bring yourself back into like, okay, yeah, walk out here and I can't hear anything. You hear that? That's just bugs. That's a mosquito by your ear. That's the only thing you hear.
Yeah, that's the best part about it too. And we won't disclose your location, of course, but like you guys are nestled in so nice where it's still close enough to the city, right? But not too far away. Like obviously your drive down here wasn't terrible. We were driving up that way. What was that? 2 winters ago. And
on Mayhem Hill, Mayhem Road.
I'm not sure what it's called.
It was a fucking blizzard. I won't go. I'll let you go.
It was probably one of the most traumatic drives I've ever been on. I would say
I was the driver.
It was way past.
I did not want to drive.
Way past where you guys are. As we started getting up there, we were trying to take a back road. Where the hell were we going?
We were trying to get the Blackhawk to do stupid ass gambling.
Because I-70 was closed down.
It's stupid.
I know exactly where you guys were. You guys were up Robinson Hill Road, Douglas Mountain Drive.
It wasn't good.
Yeah, that's a steep looking off the cliff. You're about to fall into no man's land if you go
And
off.
so,
It wasn't
so
good.
I'll break into this a little bit. Like, so I knew I was going to get roped into driving. I know I didn't want to drive. I was so tired that day. And so I got roped into driving. I was not prepared to drive. Was not prepared for this.
That's true.
And that became the mantra for me for the rest of the evening. And so we're driving up there. We like are swerving. We haven't even gotten to the foothills in the mountains yet. We're slicking around already. And then I forget to get gas too. Okay, but that comes in later. That comes in later. And my windshield sucked. It was like an 04 Mercury Mountaineer with shitty ass windshield wipers, like horrible. So and
it's snowing.
And it's snowing ridiculously. And for the heater to work on this thing, the defog, you have to be pushing down on the accelerator, or else it just blows cold ass air. So there's all these different things happening. And then as we're driving up this road, after we've done detours, I have an inch of visibility because of all the snow, the shitty wipers, and we tried clearing it a bunch of times, and it was useless. So I just got used to the inch, and then we pretty much get stuck, get turned around, and thank God we did, because just turning around was a shit show because there's all these cars up there,
Stuck.
a bunch of stuck vehicles, and so. And then my gas is almost out, and then we had to coast back, so the heater wasn't blowing on the windshield. Like,
kept having to pop it in neutral.
It was
like
so,
really
it was
managing
tough.
throttle controls in the front seat, like kind of coaching our like, come on, man, we got this. But the reason we had to turn around was because we hit a point where we just couldn't go anymore. The vehicle was just lost traction. We started sliding back almost into a ditch.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolute chaos. And
that was that girl's last drive.
And that was it, because she was done after that. That car didn't do well after that.
No.
But to Art's point, once we got turned around going back down past, kind of where you guys are at, we were out of fuel.
So you never made it to Blackhawk?
We never made it.
But we did make it to, what's the name of that
Eddie's.
place? Yeah,
We
Eddie's.
ended up staying at the Eddie Hotel in Golden.
And
what a great night
pounded
that was.
a fucking bottle of
Maker's
whiskey
46,
and just had a great time with it. I think we were all chilling in our boxers. Kevin was like in a robe and shit.
Yeah, that's a cool hotel.
We ended up making it a good night, but I guess the point we were making was those roads are treacherous up there.
Oh, yeah.
Or they can be in the wintertime.
Yeah. If they haven't gotten up there, I mean, they do really well with plowing them. So that's the nice thing is, we're not that far off main road. So when we come down, the biggest problem that we have is our own driveway.
Yeah. And
So,
are you from Colorado originally?
No, I grew up in Wisconsin. So I've been out here since 2011, but I grew up just north of Madison.
I think I can hear a little bit of that northern accent in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, put the motor in the boat.
Yeah. It's died down quite a bit. And
That's good.
I haven't been back in a while to reignite it.
Yeah, that's how I am with I'm from New England, so
Okay.
sometimes if I drink some Sam Adams, we'll start pottying real hard. It starts coming out. But to your point, I haven't been back home in a minute, so it's kind of fizzled out.
It does fade a little bit. So I'm from Colorado. We don't really have accents out here, I feel like.
I disagree.
Well, what's the Colorado accent?
It's all of it. I think you guys say you're like it's Coors.
Coors?
We're gonna get up on the roof.
The roof?
You guys say roof out here.
I say roof.
Well, I'm telling you, a lot of Colorado folks say roof. Would you agree?
I'm just trying to think. I don't meet that many people that are just from Colorado.
Well, so my point in
Like
this
my wife
that's true.
is because so many people move here, we just pick up on the accents that
Melting
we
pot.
grow up with.
Melting pot.
So it's like local Coloradans have
like,
different accents.
Jacqueline, she's becoming to have a little bit of a Midwest accent. Like,
See?
people even ask her, like, "Are you from the Midwest?" And she's like, "Son of a bitch," I'm picking it up. It's rubbing off on me.
the Midwest accent. What do they call it? The Hortburn instead of heartburn. We got the Hortburn. That's more like St. Louis.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, so I feel like it is that, but the funny thing is it's like regardless of where you're from, regardless how you talk, body language is always readable.
Yeah.
So it's like we can all read, and I've been trying to like pick up on a little Espanol and stuff, and like sometimes you get some body language, and even if there's a communication barrier, you could still pick up on body language pretty easily. So that's what's kind of cool about interacting with people from wherever they are.
That's the thing with the Midwest. You can come off a lot of times as like an asshole, but you're really just a really nice person. It's like the body language, like just, yeah, we're here, just have dead face or whatever. But
yeah, and then being cool guys that'll invite you over for a barbecue and beers, and yeah, that's what I've noticed too. A lot of people told me that I was kind of that way. I had like a straight face all the time. This guy doesn't want to have fun. And it's like, it's not necessarily true.
Yeah, exactly.
Judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, been in Colorado for, did you say how many years?
You say you moved here
since 2011.
2011, okay.
Coming up on 13 years now.
It's 13 years. That's a good amount of time. And was it like, what brought you out here originally even? Like, what?
So I came out here for school, actually.
Okay.
So I came out and I did my electrical engineering out here at a school for the renewable boom. You know, I thought that was something to get into. And then,
Did you end up like using any of that? Or I'm sure you use those skills with your property, but
I used the electrical. I worked as a project manager for 6 years, and then I was another 2 years in estimating, doing consulting, stuff like that. Still doing it now, working with it, but that's just on the consulting side. So that's, main job, but outside of the main job, then it's really the wellness business that we have that we really like to focus on, and that's the future.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the current now, and it's my current part-time, and then moving into that for full-time in the future. Just, it's what I really enjoy doing. I started with that in the project management world, really with my teams. I was running a super large project. It was a $60 million project, and so I was out there, and I had a team of 60 people underneath me. So I enjoyed more so helping people to understand and to learn than I actually did doing the work. And so through all of that, and then I started talking about life, and then I started talking about helping you out here, helping you out there. I'm like, this is what my passion is. I can feel this is what it is that's in my soul that I want to do. And so everything kind of comes together. But at the same time, I love construction. I love seeing
building
things.
is so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's satisfying when you get to see it done. But if you I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to open it up a little bit right here.
Yeah.
Because you've put some stuff out there on social media where you've talked about overcoming habits that weren't productive, right? We'll put it that way. Like, we're wasting our time doing things that are actually holding us back. And I've been open about some things that I've had to overcome. Kevin, of course, has been open about, everyone struggles with their own personal problems. And I'm curious to kind of know what you went through, kind of some of the bigger things that you had to overcome to then get to a place where you're able to help others, right? Because you did that. At one point, you couldn't help others, and then you did something, and now you are able to. So if you could open up on that, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, this whole process, I would say, started back in 2017, maybe even 2016 is when it started to kick in a little bit. I ended up on a hospital ride, ambulance ride on my 26th birthday.
Okay.
Drank way too much, ended up woke up the next morning in the hospital like, oh shit, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Still have my captain's hat, because I was wearing it for my birthday out there. So morning, Captain. So that's what I woke up to. Just kind of laughing that off, and then no, this isn't something where I want to be. And so that's where my life started into getting.
How many years were you doing all that, partying hard, and before you hit that no?
Since a freshman in high school, really.
Yeah.
I mean, not drinking. I'd say starting senior year, probably in high school, started drinking. Then it carried right into college.
So almost 10 years.
Smoking weed, started that as a freshman. That was just going through things, and that really took me down the path of not caring about things because that became more precedence. Baseball was my entire life up until then.
Okay.
So I ended up, leaving myself behind in what I actually loved because I got addicted. Addictions are real. And you can use an addiction to be a positive thing, or you can use an addiction to take you down a negative path. I look at it all as whatever you are doing, you are you, whatever it is. So I took myself down. I had, trauma from my childhood. And so that was things that I overcame. I didn't think I was worth anything. I always beat myself up and didn't think I was enough and questioned everything that I did. I was just completely in my head.
We were talking about overthinking stuff right before we jumped on. So guilty?
Yeah, guilty.
I know you're guilty as charged
100%.
too, right?
100%.
Yeah, all guilty here, Matt.
Yeah, and I don't think, anybody, I believe, could relate to that, and we all go through it, and it's just a matter of how fast can you right your ship and how can you acknowledge it, can you get to it.
Yeah.
And so I just, I went down that path and I was doing fine. Everything looked good from the outside. I had, a good job. I had a good apartment. I was, had a dog. I was going out and mountain biking maybe every other weekend, going and doing hikes here and there. But I didn't have any purpose to my life. I was kind of doing the same things, like I was hanging out with people I realized just to go drink. Or that was what I would come home, crack a few beers, smoke a bowl, sit 8 out, watch Netflix, whatever it was. I'm like, man, what am I doing? Like, is this purpose behind what I'm doing? And I didn't have any of it.
So right, because there's always a lot of layers to this. To even get to the point where you're willing to ask yourself, am I spending my time in a purposeful way? Like, that even takes time. And then, so you're not alone on this. I know the listeners know, but, like, for me, it was opiates, and I, like, way overdid it for a long time, and then it took me, like, 5 years to get off. And that getting off period was tough because it had acknowledged that I had a problem there, but then I kept doing it, and I knew it was an issue at that point. And it was, like, that disappointment that kept replaying is what I feel like eventually, like, pushed me toward, like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Well, it's that anxiety you create. Like, I created it because I work construction. So when I was working construction, I was like, oh, if I get a random drug test or I get something like that. So nice. I lived every single day. But then at the same time, it was like, I still just smoked weed every single day. It's like, I shouldn't be doing this. But then, you go back and I'm just like, I created a daily anxiety. So then my mind was taken up by that. But then I had that voice inside me that was like, you should stop. You should stop. You should stop. Every day was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Or, I should stop, but not today. And then, and then it would fall into, just be that flip-flop, like depression, like, man, I should really stop. Anxiety. Oh, now I'm going to get a drug test or something like that.
Did you have, because I used to have, like, the fake pee that I could, like, have in my boxers. You, like, keep it in between. Fix? Yeah, you keep it in between, like, your nuts and your thigh. Like, all day I would leave it there just waiting to get popped.
Been there. Yeah.
Or, every like, day. The mouthwash. I used to have, like, the mouthwash in a plant at one of my jobs. Like, if they ever called me, like, just swish that shit around real quick. It is stupid, right?
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Everyone's going to try to find a hack, right?
The mind space that you take up. And so I attribute it to not living my truth, not living my facts, and really getting down to it like, hey, I'm not supposed to do this. Or getting to a place where it's like, okay, if I really want to do that, what benefit? What is the benefit in my life? What is, not the benefit? There really wasn't any benefits to my life because I could say, oh, maybe I laugh at something, but, I hadn't doing it since I was a freshman. I mean, I was 15 years old. So, like, I didn't create myself as a man. I stayed back in that point in time because I just continued to sedate out. And I believe that, things nowadays, so many people just get down that avenue and they don't look at themselves. So, like, I realized, like, man, I'm lying to myself every day. Do I feel good about what I'm doing? Do I love what I'm doing? No. Like, and I had that voice inside me that, like, man, I need to really look at my life, and until I stopped lying to myself, I couldn't change. I had to get to the facts of what it was that I did to my life, who I was, exactly who I was. And until I got to that point, there was no moving forward because I could make up every lie that I could. And it was like, it's one thing to lie to another person and then you use up that brain space trying to...
Oh, my God.
Trying to keep the lie. What did I tell that person last time? And then they're like, oh, I thought you told me. Oh, yeah.
Or start believing in your own lies and you literally don't even know it's real.
I mean, pathological liars exist. They start to believe it. It's the same as being a hypochondriac. They believe it.
Yeah. And then you're lying to yourself. So then you're using up all that space trying to just figure out lie because... And then I figured out... If you just listen to yourself, you just tell yourself the truth, you just live your truth, you're never thinking outside of what's in the moment. That's true. You are, like, strategically, but outside of, like, things that you've done, like, oh, I said that. And then it can just perpetually eat away at you. Like, why did I say that? How do I make this right? Like, And until you actually just man up and face it head on and say, I said that was wrong. I didn't do that. You can't really shut that voice off inside of you. And so living that truth is like the biggest thing that turned my entire life around.
So I had mentioned like kind of like a 5-year period of acknowledgement to complete action, right? Yeah. Like we're done, but it took 5 years. So from your truth to, you know, where you ended at and like, I'm okay never having this again. Like how long did that take? What did that look like for you?
I would say I was probably really didn't even look at it. Like I started down that path, like I said, like there was the first thing with the ambulance ride. Then, you know, I went into getting married and had all of the life and still was drinking, still looking at that. So I really started looking at it in 2018. Okay. 2019, I would say I was really good, was not drinking, was not smoking, went back into it. You know, I'm like, okay, no, I can smoke. Like, you know, I'd go like 2 months at a time and I'd be like, okay, yeah, we're good. I can smoke one night on a weekend or something like that. Or
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's wrong.
No, personally. And it's not at all. And it's about controlling yourself.
That's true.
I know I am a very addictive person. Like, if I get into something, I will get addicted to it. And, you know, that goes the same thing as like working out. I will get addicted to it. I will get addicted to hunting. I will get addicted to things that I love, and it can be a negative thing or it can be a positive thing. So steering myself to those positive things is really what it is that I needed to do. And I would fall back into and give myself that, and I'd be like, oh shit, 9 months now, I'm smoking every single day again. I know I'm not the person that I like to be. I'm more productive. I do all these other things. I'm a more personable person. Like I kind of go closed up when I'm smoking weed and I'm out with people. I kind of like overthink myself and like start that voice in my head. Like, should I say this? Should I not say this? And I'm just me when I'm not in that state. And I know there's some people that like they go out and they socialize and it's an amazing time. So everybody has their own experience.
Yeah, and everyone is a little bit different that way. I think that's a good point to bring up because, I mean, Art can attest, I'm not the biggest weed smoker. I mean, I have at times. I go through, like, weird phases with it. Usually in the summertime, it's, like, not my thing, but in the wintertime, like, I'm more apt to do it, which is interesting. But for me, I mean, I'm a drinker. You know, I'm a social drinker. I'm a, you know, after-work drinker. I like beer. Yeah. You know, like having a few cold ones, but some people aren't that way. There's people that just, we've had plenty of people in this cast who are like, I just don't drink. Yeah. Never drank, don't want to drink. You know, so everyone kind of has that crutch and different things that they're leaning on. And, you know, everyone's kind of searching for that dopamine, right? Because then I've talked to a lot of sober folks, too, that then get addicted to sex, pornography, sugar, food, you name it, right? It still goes down that negative road a little bit, even though that they've overcome an addiction. I think all three of us in this room share that we can struggle with addiction problems for sure. And it's like, how are we going to continue to maintain going forward with that, right? Because we're always going to be tempted. We're always going to have it. We're always going to think about it. And it's always there. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, and I think it's all about, like, creating that in your mind, to yourself, to your truth. Like, hey, I love this. This is okay. And, yeah, there's certain things that are just destructive to your life. And if you can go down a path and you go into those things that it's like, yeah, nothing positive ever, you know, happens when I'm going down this addictive path. Or I love cigars, and, you know, it's okay, like, to have a cigar on the weekend or whatever. And I'm not shooting myself in the foot by going down. And, you know, I'll run the risk. I love it, whatever, of health reasons. Maybe you have a health reason. Maybe you don't have a health reason. That's all just on your own thing. But I think a lot of it is to, like, giving yourself that permission, because as soon as you give yourself that permission and you have that decision, that's where, like, the brain space really changes. Because if you're not thinking about it, like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that, or you do have that thought in your head, like, man, I shouldn't be doing this, then you probably should really reevaluate what it is that you're doing and getting to that level where you're not taking yourself out of thinking about it. Because you're just like, oh man, you know, like, I used to be a binge drinker. It's culture back in Wisconsin where I grew up. And it was like, you drink to get drunk. It's not just have a few beers or do anything like that. Now I'll go out and I'll have a beer. I'll have 2 beers, and I can control myself.
I consider that responsible drinking.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love the taste of beer, like you said. I love tasting different craft beers, but I can go out and I can have 2 beers, I can go a month without drinking a beer.
That's good.
And I don't think or crave, and usually it's a social situation now.
Yeah.
When I was at home, the first thing I did at home was crack a beer. It's like, this isn't, really a thing. I walked around the ranch with a beer in my hand. I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
That's where things.
You're all like trying to do things. You're like, wait, where'd I leave my beer? You're like out there looking. You're like out there 30 extra minutes because you keep losing your beer and shit. No, but
things go slower.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're taking your time and you're enjoying it, but like it's that habitually doing it all the time and then the dependent on it thing that's tough.
Yeah.
Since we're kind of talking a little bit about like the recovery end for things, I wanted to talk about like a cool moment that I experienced in the first time that it happened. So like with opiates, like it either makes people feel fucking nauseous and sick or you feel awesome and euphoric. I was the latter, and so that's why I was super into it. And when you're getting off of whatever it is that you're into, like there is going to be that tough period, like where you're not really feeling that good, and like life is But it was like a year and a year and a half within that period after I had kicked opiates. I was like, I don't ever want to touch this shit again. I'm like, I'm good. I felt the euphoric feeling of being on opiates, but it only lasted like 30 seconds, not 30 hours. But like all of a sudden it hit me, and I was like, I was on a walk, like I was enjoying like nature, and I was listening to some really good music. So like I had all the good feels going. And when that first hit me at that first time, I was all like, milestone achieved. Because you can still get the same high from whatever you were doing naturally, but you're not going to be feeling it all day long. It's going to be a quick hit. But then when you do it naturally, like there is this, it's real. It's not artificial at that point. Like you're doing something authentic, and I believe anyone could get there. But that was a cool moment.
Yeah, and it's a mindset. It's, really getting yourself into that repetitive just system.
Mm-hmm.
You have to systematically push yourself into things, because when you don't have that system and you're not creating stuff, then you're all over the place, because you're like, well, what do I do today? What do I do? Because then you don't have a path. You don't have something that you're doing. And like I have a daily regimen that I do. I wake up at 5 a.m. I work out, I meditate, I, do my memoir stuff, a little journaling, whatever, and take some good drinks. And by the time it hits 7 o'clock, I'm ready to roll on the day. Mm-hmm. And that gets me in a great headspace. I'm ready to roll, and I'm just moving on. And it's like a daily thing that I do every single day. And that was one of the biggest things that I started 2.5 years ago. That was, I enrolled into a program that I needed to wake myself the fuck up. I was like,
it's tough to get up at 5 a.m.
Where am I going? It wasn't even wake up there. It was just wake up as a person. I had to wake up because I was just sleeping on myself. So like 2020, I went into those grooves. It was like, okay, I went down like the extreme spiritual path. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing all these things. And I was, I did the ayahuasca journeys to heal my trauma, to really find myself, and went through those things. And it's not, I was thinking of it like this is going to be like a end-all, cure-all type of thing going to it. Not the case. That shows you the things, and it pulls the things out of you that you really don't like about yourself, the true parts of you that's like, nope, this isn't truly who you are. This isn't what you're meant to be doing. This isn't meant to be who you are. And those are the things that come on your mind, and you feel it, and you need to look at those. But then it's about creating that program to maintain every single day, because that's where the real work starts.
I've heard a lot of people allude to that a little bit, like they get into life coaching, or they go through some of these retreats and they go through things that really pulls out the trauma, and like, this is going to fix me. I'm going to pay all this money to, go through this life coaching session. It's a 9-10 week course, whatever, and everything. And then they get done and they're like, wait a minute, what do you mean I'm not healed? Now the real work starts? I've heard a lot of people talk that way. It's like, I think in our culture and society here in America, people are always looking for that quick fix. Oh, this will do it, this will do it, this will do it, right? It's like, no, this is consistent. We got to keep moving. We got to keep working.
Yeah, you can jump around all you want and spend all the money that you want for all the quick fixes in the world, but nobody can fix you. Honestly, nobody can fix you. you can only fix yourself, and you can only be determined to fix yourself. And it is through breaking those habits, through breaking that routine. And, unless you really get down to the truth of what you have for yourself and you look at your life in every aspect, and you're like, the program that I was in had a 4-part thing that you looked at. And that's, you looked at your body, your being, and your balance in your business. You looked at 4 aspects of your life. What were you doing for your body every single day? Were you doing some sort of movement, getting a sweat, anything? And feel in your body, meditating, writing down your thoughts. Then, what are your relationships like? And that's your balance, like relationship with your wife, relationship with your friends, parents, whoever, and just talking to them, sending them the gratitude, letting them know what they are in your life. Because when you think about the messages that you get from somebody, you're like, oh man, that feels good. Glad that guy was thinking about me, So when you spread that out to other people, then you don't realize the joy you can give to other people, but then also what that builds within yourself and what you can give to other people, and then learning every day. That's the business part of it. Whether it's, you're learning podcast stuff, or your everyday job, or you have a different business, like just going and learning something, because that's how you propel yourself forward. I mean, the way I look at it, you can only go up or down. You really can't stay the same in life, because everything else around you is changing.
Yeah, it's true.
So if you're doing nothing, you're only going to end up sinking, going down. Or you can continue propel yourself forward, get yourself better in different ways, and go up.
That's too true. One thing I've noticed as well, because we're talking about doing this coaching, and how you do feel good going into these sessions. You feel a bit of hope and enthusiasm, right? And that's important, because that's your first step.
Yeah.
But once you get to that next level that class or whatever you're doing brings you to, you have changed. So doing the same thing that you did before that got you to that level is not going to get you to the next level. So you have to recognize when you're actually stepping up the staircase. Like every single step is a new level, and every single time you get to a new level, you need to change something about the way you're doing something in order to get to the next step.
Yeah.
And that's what's difficult, because we all want to be complacent. We all want to say I work so hard, I earn to relax. Like when you're in that mindset, no, this is going to be hard until I got a gravestone above me. Like, I'm going to work hard like that until I'm dead. That is when you actually start breaking through, because there is no break. There is no off button, and that's a tough pill to swallow, and a tough concept to be like, why does it have to be that way? Like, trust me, I don't want it to be that way. Yeah. But that's just how it is. And so it's you have to stay driven and be willing to keep it fresh and keep critiquing yourself, and hopefully you're being nice about it too, of course, but there's a lot to it.
Like I was saying, we talk about Complacency Boulevard, which is kind of a term that we coined here, and are we going to take the left onto Full Send Highway? But that doesn't necessarily mean, because I think a lot of folks get very discouraged about making major life decisions, seeking coaching, motivational. It's like, I'm not going to be that person every single day. I can't keep up. And I think it's also important to point that out. We're going to have some tough days. Things aren't going to go well. There's going to be struggles. It's okay to have those rough times. But are we going to bounce back tomorrow? This is not living in the now, as we've talked about, right? We have a situation to overcome it, right? Everyone's going to assess that differently, I feel like. Some people get really upset. Some people start throwing things. Some people throw their hands up and say, I quit. But I think that's also important, because we talk about a lot of emotional stuff on this program, right?
Yes.
And it's and motivational stuff. But we're not saying, wake up tomorrow and you got to be perfect for the rest of your life. Everything's going to be great. Because that's naive to think, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be hard times.
Yeah, no matter what.
Yep.
I mean, even if you get to a place where you're feeling amazing, you're still going to have hard days. You still have to work at it every single day, because you can get complacent in any part of what you do. You can focus on one side of your life too much, and then another side starts falling off. And it's
a good point.
Giving it all a little bit every single day, and just continuing to push it forward, and really still evaluating, because if you don't evaluate, you can't see. And the first thing is really seeing yourself.
No, I think that's great. And oh man, what was it? I was thinking about, you were just talking about the self-evaluation.
Yep. Talking about Power Now, Complacency, Full Send.
Yeah, Thank you. So what it was is you almost have to like accept the fact that you're not always going to have a good day. Like you need to recognize that, and then that way when you are having good days, it's like, oh, this is a good day. Like I can really celebrate today. It's a good one. But then when you're having those tough days too, like you should also recognize that as equally important, right? I mean, everyone's going to have some challenges. I'm not going to name reasons, but like I've had like, you know, a little extra on my mind. And so I've had to get through the weeks and honestly facing it and just accepting it and being like, you know what, it's all okay. Like it's good. You know, not every day is going to be a good day. And by doing that, just for even 2 days in that, like coming out feeling great, you know, and that's the thing about it too. It's like you can't always expect it to be good. I did like that point. I had to reiterate on that a little bit and just with a little touch.
Yeah, it's about finding that tool that you have as well. Whatever it is that works for you, that you know, and being able to identify because you're in touch with yourself that much. Like, okay, this is what's bothering me, you know, and as men, like I was a pussy if I cried. I was, you know, if I had feelings, whatever, growing up. Yeah. So it was like, shove all that down. Just everything's okay. Yep. Good. You know, didn't ever talk about how I was feeling. You know, so that's like another part of it is having those feelings. And it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to be that vulnerable person to be able to talk about it because when you try to deal with it yourself, then you just go in those perpetual loops trying to like figure it out within your mind. And, you know, certain things do maybe pull you out for a little bit, but then you go right back into it. And really acknowledging those feelings and looking at them like, how am I feeling right now? What is it that is triggering me to feel this way? What is the fact that I have right now that's making me feel this way? And am I creating a story for myself that is adding on top of this that really maybe this isn't what it is? Or how do I get myself out of this by talking through and creating my desired story of what it is? And, you know, talking through all those things. And I finally like have gotten to a point where I can like acknowledge my feelings, like, yeah, I'm feeling this way, you know, and talking to Jacqueline, my wife, about it and being like, oh, this is how I feel. She talks to me about it all the time. And I was, you know, I used to be like, okay, you know, you always have some sort of feelings. Sure. You know, and now I'm like, oh, this does feel really good to just talk and let it out. And that's, you know, a huge thing. And, you know, that's how Jacqueline and I help people with relationships as well. Is like, we've gone through it. We've been through it to where we've grown together. You know, neither of us are perfect in any way, shape, or form, but we've grown together. We've gone through it together and we've pushed through it. Because it, like you said, it's so like the quick fix. Like everybody's just like, oh, this sucks. And then they leave each other. Yep. But it's like you had that amazing spark and it may not even be something with your relationship. It could be something that individually you're having personally that's pulling you away. And that other person could be your punching bag. And then it just goes back and forth. So really getting down to what is the root cause of it and letting it out with, okay, this is how I feel, this is why I feel this way, this is what's happening. And most of the time you figure out it's something that you created in your mind. That was a story that you're like, oh, I created all this with myself. Yep. This isn't actually what happened. This isn't actually how I want life to be. And I'm creating this feeling by telling myself this story. So, you know, that's just one of the biggest things is, you know, getting the truth and your feelings and letting them out. And when you do, you feel so much better.
I would agree with that. You know, that's why I love doing this, because we get to talk about it, right? Yeah. This is my therapy every week. I did anger management for years. And, you know, one of the biggest takeaways I think that I learned from that, which can apply to, you know, someone that's alone, married, whatever, I think we're kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, getting those feelings out. Living in the now a little bit and you know, being in the moment is one of the things that I learned, right? So recognizing it. And I'll use an example of what I went through yesterday. Rough day. Things were going wrong. You know, just everything was coming at me, just a lot of shit. I could feel it. I could feel that old anger coming. I was getting irritated. I'm like, man, I'm being tested right now. How am I going to respond to this? Because old Kev would start flipping people off, road rage, getting pissed. I'm like, what, you know, am I still going to be mad about this tomorrow when I'm sitting on the couch doing podcasts? No, I'm not. Right? So little tools like that, it took me years. I'm not saying it's going to be done overnight, right? But to your point, it's so easy to tell ourselves a story in our head and get, rather than just getting it out, thinking about it, analyzing it, talking about it, which Art, him and I do a great job off the podcast as well. Just kind of, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. We got to see where everyone's at, but because we're single guys, so we're not in that situation. But I can imagine that also carries over into a marriage, right? You got two different people, two different feelings, emotions going on. I'm not good at relationships. I hope to be better at it maybe in the future, but I think working on that kind of stuff and the advice you just gave is something that I would apply.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to like each other every single day. I mean,
it's unrealistic, right?
Yeah, it's human nature. Like, even your best friends.
I don't like this guy every day.
Yeah, you're just like, you're annoying the shit out of me right now, whatever. Like, but part of it is, like, knowing that, okay, I'm going to go on and be like, hey, I'm going to go do my thing. This is how I feel. Don't take it personally, but I'm just going to go, do whatever. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go ride the horse. I'm going to go ride my motorcycle, whatever it is that you do.
Just some me time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to get yourself out of it and like, hey, you take your you time. We're not stuck at the hip because we got into a relationship. We were two individual people that fell in love. And we loved seeing each other and being with each other. So, like, that so often can get to the point where you just feel like, I can't leave this person to be by themselves, or I have to do everything with this person. And you really, like, will enmesh your lives together to where you're inseparable, and give yourself that feeling and create the story that you're not able to go do something by yourself. And that's another, like, avenue you can go down. And, there's so many different avenues that you can go down. And it's really just finding that for yourself.
What I feel one of the main fundamentals is to any of this friendship, relationship, lover, business partner, whatever it is, if you don't have the foundational respect there, because, like, we're not always going to all agree, but if you are going to disrespect people with a disagreement and you can't stay level-headed and disagree, like, I feel like that is an area that takes patience from everybody included to not get triggered and start reacting. But I feel like that's really important, is if we could all maintain respect for whatever type of relationship it is, respect people's time. Like, if they call you, call them back, or, like, if you have something set up, then you see that through, or, like, even just being there and be like, hey, how you doing? Like, I'll ask Kev, I'm like, how was your day today, man? Like, because I respect him. And so you got to have that respect as a foundation for any relationship, and I feel like that comes from almost having self-respect, because you're not going to allow somebody else's opinion to throw you off all kilter, and then your day's all emotional because someone disagreed, or the news said this. Like, you got to have the self-respect there to not, so there's it's tiramisu. There's, like, layers to this shit,
Layer upon layer upon layer. It's like an onion. You just keep going through it.
I had
never get to the bottom.
One saying, I was like, I was comparing, like, a toxic relationship. I'm like, dude, this relationship's like an onion. The more layers I peel back, the more I cry on this thing. I'm like, oh my God. That is kind of making light of a situation, but
no, that's good. I like the analogy, but just to piggyback off that, look, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Everyone wants the easy button. Give me the easy route. I thought this was going to be easy. What do you mean it's going to take work? It was so great in the beginning, and this and that. It's like, there's a lot of factors there. Of course, there is chemistry. There's folks that focus too much on codependency, right? So I see this so often within my friends, family, exes, you name it, that are so codependent. Right, and I have to be with someone. They identify as that, like, I have to have a partner, and that's going to make me happy. I disagree with that. I think if you can't love yourself and you can't get down to your core and stay centered, how is someone else going to do that? Sure, I have great friends that build me up, but if I can't stay centered and I'm not in touch with myself, how am I going to be able to be with somebody else? I mean, do you agree with that?
On that right there. I mean, you're never going. If you're not happy with yourself, how are you going to be happy with anything else? You're trying to feed off of somebody else's energy to give you that good feeling. But anytime it's not there, because, and like you said with the codependency, like, you can't suck that energy from somebody else always to make yourself feel good, because then it's going to create a bad atmosphere at some point in time, because you can't just be by yourself. And then that person needs their time to themselves as well. You just have to have it, because like, go sit and meditate. You need to go have your friends. You need to go do whatever it is, because we're all individual humans.
Yeah.
We're not the same person. Nobody is the same person and likes all the same things. And you have to be strong enough to say, like, no, I don't want to go do that with you. Go do it. Enjoy yourself. Like, don't worry, and that's like one of the biggest things I believe with codependency is like, no, yeah, don't go. Yeah, whatever, go do it, and don't make a big deal out of it, because a lot of people make a big deal out of it like they're getting left out. But it's like, well, you don't enjoy doing that, but then it becomes, well, you're just not happy being by yourself when somebody else goes and is having fun.
Exactly.
You don't have fun doing it because you're trying to force yourself to be that person in what they enjoy.
Right.
So bringing yourself into what you enjoy for yourself when you're having that time too.
It's important. It's very important. And I'm going to bring my parents into this, and Mom and Dad, they watch the show, so we love you, Mom and Dad. They got married in 1974, right? So they're coming up on 50 years married, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, Mom, Dad, you're going to agree to this. You've told me this my whole life. My dad was on the road a lot when I was growing up. He was, making the living, doing his thing. He was gone a lot. They had a lot of separation, doing their own thing. Still to this day, my dad's 70. He's out watching a movie tonight. Him and I go to races together. He does his own thing. Mom's got her thing. She's a little bit more of an introvert. Dad likes being out doing things. But the point is, 50 years married, and they're doing their own thing. But it's still a great marriage. You know what I mean? So, because a lot of people are like, well, Kev, how did your folks do it? Well, it's exactly what we're talking about, giving each other space to do different things. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Mom and Dad's marriage was easy the whole time. And I won't go into that. There's a lot of stories there, right? As it always. But 50 years in, they're doing exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm going to, we have a big age group of people that listen to this program. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in, supporting us. But regardless of your age, it may take you might know in your 20s, you might know in your mid-30s. It took me, then I was 32 or something, when I was starting to figure out, like, what is my purpose in life? And like, to be happy as an individual without, because friends come and go, girlfriends come and go, family members, sometimes they're on the chopping block too, they come and go. Like, so you just got to figure out really what, and we're talking about that earlier too. Like, we're like doing a full circle here, and it's like, you have to have self-respect, you have to know your purpose, and everybody's purpose is different. And if you love somebody, you should love them in a way where they feel free. That's something Kev has told me a lot, and I agree with that quote. Yep. So much awesome things that we unpack there. I love that conversation. It's an important conversation, and especially coming from 3 white dudes sitting at the couch. Yeah, we can be vulnerable too. It's okay for us to have emotions and get this out here. And
the modern man, as you call it.
The modern man is allowed to cry. We're allowed to talk about our emotions. So I really appreciate you, being vulnerable, opening up about that, because a lot of people are out there struggling. But I do want to talk about, other things than overcoming some of your favorite hobbies too. So you say you like hunting a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you like a bow hunter, or like, how are you doing this?
So archery is my thing. Archery is
Okay.
the biggest thing.
Nice.
Like, I love archery. I came from Wisconsin whitetail hunting in a stand. I loved being out there, and that was the first thing I did, was actually archery hunted. I didn't grow up in a family of hunters.
Okay.
And so, just go to show you don't have to be into it. It's something that you decide to do, and if you love it, go for it and do it. You can create that yourself, anything that it is, Yep. And like, I don't know if you came from a family of car guys or racing, any of that stuff. It just create what it is that you want. Get yourself around people that really enjoy it. In high school, my best friend hunted. I would go out there and sit without a weapon.
Just watch?
Just sit in the woods by myself in a stand.
Yeah.
Well, he was in a different stand with his bow.
And so you didn't even have one. You're
Nope.
you're just sitting there like, maybe my friend will get one here.
Yeah, never had a gun in my house. Never had any motorized anything. My parent, that was just the household that I grew up in. And so with the college loan, I bought my first bow. Went and got myself, funny story, I actually shot my first deer, technically illegally, because I hadn't even gone through hunter safety to be able to get a hunting license.
Okay.
So I had a friend that only rifle hunted. He went and bought his license. He's like, here, yeah, you can take it. So bought me an archery license. So I was out there as my buddy, college buddy, on my property that I had up where I went to college. And so I went out, and first shot I ever took at an animal, kill shot.
Oh,
Got it.
nice.
That's
Doe.
impressive.
Whitetail doe. So, I mean, and from there, it just kept going.
Now,
But
are you at 100% on that, or did the ratio go down after the first shot?
Ratio has gone down.
Okay, I was curious. I didn't know.
Whitetail, I'm at 100%.
That's
Really?
impressive.
But that's because, I had really two whitetails that I've ever killed and shot. Before then, I moved to, and that's with my bow. And I've gotten a couple with my rifle. But then beyond that, then I switched over to elk hunting.
Okay.
Elk hunting, totally different game.
Big
Love
game.
that, And it's about being out there by myself. It's almost like, I've gone through with Jacqueline doing things where, she's Native American. We've done a lot of stuff with the Lakota tribe. She's done a vision quest where she was out there for 3 days, 3 nights without any food, any water. Crazy.
It's like Casey did in Yellowstone. I don't know if you guys watched that, but
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So I'm out there with just myself, staying with what I have on my back, food on my back. I have food and water, but I'm out in the middle of the mountains, nowhere, Bears, mountain
It does
lions,
sound nice, though.
moose, everything. Just being out there with myself.
incredible.
And I have buddies that I'll take out that come from out of state, or has some buddies here that I'll go with, but I don't need anybody to be out there, and I'm just in love with what I'm out there doing. So yeah, I got out to elk hunting, and then that's my first shot with the bow at an elk, shot over its back. So yeah, last year actually, I got a nice bull with my bow. So I've had a couple nice bulls and a couple cows. Keep the freezer full.
That's good.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, because obviously, just the fact that hunting exists upsets people, and so I feel like if you're doing it, you take it and you utilize what happened. Like, you utilize the meat, you utilize the animal. I feel like that's the right way to do it.
Absolutely.
And it's probably better than some of this meat that we get from these cattle farms and all this other,
Guaranteed.
it's probably better for you
100%.
than that stuff.
100% organic.
Yeah.
Especially when you're way out in the backcountry. They're just eating
They're just
what's
grazing.
ever out there, and they're not eating any junk. There's no pesticides on anything out there.
Yeah, that's true.
I know that for sure.
That is true.
Maybe in the winter they'll move into a range or something like that, but by the time that you're hunting them, all that stuff would really be out of their system, because they've been eating from the spring into the fall. When you're hunting, they're eating all organic, nothing other than that. So
Yeah.
they're lean. So they're also even a little bit more lean than buffalo. There is not really a lick of fat on these things.
Oh man, I've been fasting very consistently and portion control. So you already know where I'm going with this. A nice slab of elk sounds
It's
so
delicious.
good right now, with some mashed potatoes, some carrots, and maybe it's a little bit of broccoli. Oh, I don't know why that sounds so good.
What's your favorite way to prepare it?
Yeah.
Elk, specifically.
I love steaks, just
Yeah.
really doing it. I took over a lot of whitetail things. Whitetail was always, growing up in Wisconsin, everything's cooked with butter. So it was do some butter, some mushrooms,
Yes.
onions, saute those up, throw the...
Did you say yes to the mushrooms?
I love mushrooms.
He's
So good.
he said mushrooms, yes.
And then onions, even better.
Yeah, so throw that all in, and then you really, the more rare, the better.
Yeah.
And that'll keep it juicy. I like it that way. I just love cooking. So I'll make steaks on the smoker. It's really hard to do a long smoke thing, just like a beef brisket.
Yep.
I would most things are like that, or a little bit harder. So I like to do quick, just high heat, quick sears.
Get it done.
Yeah, just get it done. But I really like elk tacos, kind of like elk steak tacos, doing them that way. I'll have people out there, and I'll just prepare everything up, grill it really quick, and then we'll have elk tacos. And
Sounds so good.
You guys should come out,
Yeah.
do a
We're
thing at the
coming up.
ranch, and then I'll make elk. And
Yes.
Well, work up an appetite riding the horses.
yeah,
sounds
absolutely.
delicious.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Once you said the smoker, my stomach was like, "Yep, I'm a fan." I got a Traeger. So the first thing I ever did on my Traeger was a brisket. It was a 13-pound brisket, which took 13 hours, because you go about an hour per pound or whatever. And I was so nervous to nail this thing. I was up all night, had the guys over. We got drunk when I started it, and then passed out for a bit. I ran out of pellets about 6 hours into the smoke. Had to run over to the store to get more pellets. it was a disaster. I'm like, man, I'm going to fuck this brisket up. Pulled it out at the 13-hour mark, wrapped it in the butcher paper, Texas style, threw it in a cooler, let it rest for 2 hours. It was good. It turned out good. That was the only brisket I ever did. I haven't taken on a brisket again.
I didn't have it day of. I think
You had a little bit of leftovers, I think.
It was good. It was good.
Better than I did on my first brisket. Mine, I got like a 3/4 inch thick, bark on the bottom, and then it was a little dried out.
Was it?
See, my smoker, it's not a Traeger. It's it's about half the price of what a Traeger is. A Pit Boss.
Yeah, the Pit Bosses are good though.
They're all
From what
right.
I've heard.
They don't. Mine doesn't hold its heat, so like all of a sudden, like it'll be at like a 225 setting or something like that. And then next thing I look at the actual thermometer on the top, and it's like almost 300 degrees. And then
that's no good.
Then it goes down, and then you're just like back and forth. And so when you're doing that high heat,
It's going to pull that moisture out, yeah.
Pulled it out really quick. So
it is tough to keep a brisket definitely moist, but I feel like because then I did a 5-pound. Actually, I did do a 5-pound, and that one got dry because I was kind of replicating what I did with the 13-pounder. I figured it'd be a 5-hour smoke. I went too high in the heat, though. The heat just went too high, because I was temping it. I'm like, man, I got to take this thing up because people were ready to eat, kind of thing. That was the mistake. You have to go slow and low on those things, and you got to wait it out.
Oh, that's the hardest thing too. If you have people over and they came over hungry, it's like an extra 2 hours after when you said it was going to be.
Appetizers are already gone.
Yeah, chips and dip are gone. Like, come on.
Like, oh, the game's over and we haven't ate yet.
Like this was awesome, and your team lost too. You're like really sitting there
everyone's
upset.
just kinda bummed out, like, I'm just going to go home.
Yeah.
But no, to your point, yeah, those things do take. A lot of time for sure. I spatchcocked a turkey last year for Thanksgiving. That was my first go at it. Art, what do you think? It was all right, right?
The process was really fun. I thought it was. We did some video production that day too, which was fun, and I thought it turned out great.
I'm going to do it again this year.
Look, was there any left at the end of the night?
Negative.
No, it was all gone. So
That's a success right there.
there you go.
But I like trying those firsts. I always feel like my first go is good, and I try it again. I'm like, the first time is better. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing different.
Yeah.
Huh.
I like it. Now I'll just throw it on a really high heat and just even throw on burgers just to get that slight smoked flavor. Just a little bit, and I just do them really quick. Because mine actually has a section in the middle where you can open it up and get the seared flame if you really want it.
Like flame broil.
Yeah. So I can open it up and have direct pellet flame coming right at the meat if I need to.
That's
just
good.
get a nice char on it.
Those elk tacos sound good, though.
Oh, it's so good.
Did you ever do your watermelon thing? Were you gonna smoke watermelon or some shit?
Yeah, I was gonna flash sear it with a little bit of seasoning on it.
Not
Oh,
so
okay.
bad.
Yeah.
Smoked
Okay.
corn. That's good.
Ooh, that's good too. Yeah.
Corn
Well, how
on the
about
cob.
like mango?
Smoked mango.
Do
You
people
can smoke anything.
mango? Like I don't know if it's
idea.
good or not. I don't know if that would be good or not.
Smoked mango.
Yeah, maybe.
Squash.
I would try it.
Smoked squash is good.
Smoked squash I have had. I almost feel like dehydrated mango would probably be the way to go, but
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Maybe smoked and then dehydrated. I'm not too sure.
I mean,
That's a pretty juicy fruit.
I'll go off here just talking about food.
I know I'm hungry.
So, so one thing that I'm sure you've heard an episode or two all the way through, and we again appreciate everything. Like the network that we have with you and your family is one of our
Fantastic,
favorites.
yeah.
So we're thankful to have you on for sure. But we always want to ask every guest this question, and that question is that if you could give one piece of advice, and we've talked about a lot of advice today, if you could just give one piece of advice for all of humanity so everyone could be better tomorrow, what would that piece of advice be?
Live your truth. Don't lie.
I like it. It's direct, concise, to the point.
That would be it. Kind of the whole conversation, a little bit of what we were talking about before. It's like I can't really get to anything deeper or more simple than that.
That sometimes, and it's like confusing for the brain because we think it should be more complicated, but really a lot of times the simplest answer, what you thought, no way, that's too easy, a lot of times that is it. But within that simple statement of, live your truth, there is like this long journey of like, failing and figuring out, oh, that's not my truth, or like, maybe tasting it a little bit and then falling back like we've talked about, and then realizing, I was on my truth and I fell off. So I really do agree with that. I feel like my truth is evolving, like it hasn't remained the same.
I wouldn't
Yeah?
think, I don't believe mine has either.
Interesting. Yeah, so I think it's good advice.
It is good advice, yeah. Because then you kind of get you think a little bit. What's my truth? Well, I guess it's just continuing to pursue, the mission, drive, and purpose. What brings happiness each day. That's kind of how I try to analyze it. And like I said earlier, not every day is going to be good.
Yeah. You can grow out of things. You can decide, I just don't enjoy doing that anymore. You know, like, I kind of enjoy snowboarding, but I'm totally okay not going, and I don't miss it because I'm not going to go fight traffic. If I go up maybe once every 3-4 years, first years when I moved out here, I was up there 30-40 times a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm just like, no, don't care. Mountain biking, same way. Like, I love it, but I don't have to be out doing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with it.
Yeah. It's important to have those hobbies and passions that actually do bring joy and fulfillment. It's like people are always like, man, because I fly all over the country to go to NASCAR races, right? Which Art experienced last year with me going to the championship, right?
Nice.
And
that was fun.
We sat in traffic for 2 hours getting in, an hour getting out, a lot of people, some folks are like, man, this is too much. I don't want to do this. 100,000 people around, but it brings me joy. I love it to death, and I will continue to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess to cap that off, let's find our truths. Let's work on that. Let's work on self-honesty, and this is 2 weeks in a row I'm gonna say this. Let's open up the doors to our demons and choke those motherfuckers out. Yeah. And like tell them you're gonna see them again too when you're choking them out, because they don't die. I don't feel like demons die. Like they're always creeping back there somewhere. Like no matter the progress that I've made off of opiates, like I'd be sitting here lying if I was like, I never thought about that feeling, that old reliable feeling. And I'm like, nah. Like I snuff it really quick. Yep. Snuff it quick, but it's still there. So I like that. I'm going to use your advice for humanity as the challenge for the week. So challenge for this week is dig deep, be honest with yourself, and what is your truth? When was the last time you actually felt joy? When was that? Search for that. Be honest about it. Find it. Challenge yourself. You can do that in 7 days, I believe, with enough time by yourself. And you talked about meditating and stuff of this nature, so I'm just going to rant on this for a minute. You have to get uncomfortable with your thought process. You have to get uncomfortable putting your phone down, putting YouTube down, putting music down, everything down, and sitting in silence and getting into a relationship with yourself. That is so important, to find a comfort zone there. And until you do that and you try to challenge yourself with nothing, it's like you might have a fan on. And tell me you don't go a little crazy, and I'll buy you Christmas dinner if you don't go crazy. Because you're going to go a little crazy.
I agree that there are, for sure. People need to put the phones down. I talk about my 24-hour phone challenge all the time, putting YouTube down right after you get done watching this episode on YouTube, of course. Then you're going to want to take that challenge, because we love all our subscribers and our people that tune in on YouTube. But yeah, put it down afterwards. Maybe take a break from it.
There's important stuff on there.
Yeah,
just give yourself a couple hours before you go to sleep without it.
Yeah. No, for sure. 100%. I just had to rip on that a little bit. But before we get out of here, Ezra, anything that you want to promote, push, plugs, anything, it'll all be down in the show notes down below. What do the people need to know?
So we have a actual, for the nonprofit 99 Hearts, we actually have a poker tournament coming up. So we have limited spots to that poker tournament. So if you need to get your spots, go on, follow 99 Hearts, either on Instagram or Facebook. I'll send you guys a link as well.
I think Jacqueline did. I think we have it.
Yeah, so
we'll put that in the show notes.
I think that's Friday the 25th.
Right,
and what we're doing, we're supporting one of the veterans in our program.
Terrific. A
female veteran, and to continue on in the program. And there's a lot of things that go along with that, but it's just a fun night. I think I'm trying to think of who. There's a men's group that actually is like doing it with their men's group is coming out, and it's open to anybody. But I think we have 40 spots, but there's not even half of those left. So get your spots on that. So that's the nonprofit. And then if you want to just go to 99hearts.org, we're always looking for things. We rescue horses out there. We rescue elderly horses, abused horses. Mm-hmm. So it's some of them malnutrition. Getting them back up, it's comes at a cost. So we bring them, we give them their forever home, and helping out the horses. We train them back up to help veterans, suicide prevention, bring people out through the nonprofit. And then we're also going to be New Universe, so all this conversation ties into each other. It's our wellness company that Jacqueline and I have, New Universe. We've been running it for 5 years now, and so we have a retreat coming up in Costa Rica
Oh,
November
that's gonna be
1st
awesome.
through the 8th.
Excellent.
So, it's open to anyone. We're really going to dive down into, a little bit of Jacqueline's modalities. Brandon's our other facilitator. So it's Jacqueline, Brandon, and myself that will all be down there facilitating. The place has horses down there. So we'll be utilizing horses down in Costa Rica. It's down the southeast corner, Puerto Viejo. So
that's going to be beautiful.
Hell yeah.
go to newuniverse.net/retreats. And, if you want to work with Jacqueline, I know she's been on, look her up, she's been on your podcast before, or myself, and really want to get down into this. I run the program that really changed my life, and it's something that I've been blessed with, to be able to have the opportunity to live the way and have them reach out and say, hey, you want to lead this program as well. So there's
That's awesome.
millions of dollars behind this software, behind these apps, and really just the experience. I've been there. I'll be there along your side. And so if there's anything that you're looking for, don't hesitate to reach out. And you can also do that through the newuniverse.net as well. I'm on there as a facilitator. And
Love it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and it's awesome how you make yourself available. We've supported, for all the listeners, if you don't know, we've supported your family, what they do, and helping people for like 4 years or something. And we're going to continue to do that. It was a pleasure to have you. First time having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And so it was an absolute pleasure. Appreciate what you do. Everyone out there, we absolutely can't do it without you. We'll probably still show up and try, but please be good to yourselves.
You deserve it. We'll see you on Happy Friday America tomorrow. Like Art said, thanks for your continued support. Ezra, thanks again for being here, brother, coming down for a visit. Can't wait to get up to the ranch and hang out. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you again, guys.